Alrighty, and it looks like, we are live. Good. That's the first time I've actually done it on here. It's actually worked. Greetings, everyone. It is I, Mar, once again, and as promised almost 2 weeks ago, here it is, my 36th birthday video, and as you can see, it is a live stream. If you're catching this way up to the fact, I apologize. Hope you still enjoy it. If you manage to see this and come into this live stream, welcome. Now, I think probably one of the first things to mention is how does it feel being 36? In the words of DBZ Abridged Krillin, I don't feel that different. The only thing that each year as I go by that feels different is, and this is mainly a work thing, they keep hiring younger and younger people, and it starts to make me feel a bit older. Like some of the people we have been hiring recently were born in the early 2000s, so they're about the same age as my niece, so it's like, oh, that makes me feel old. But that's about it. Other than that, don't really feel that different. I mean, other than when my weight fluctuates, I feel it here. And of course, seeing Odie over there as he gets older and older, but that's more an age thing right there. Yeah, hi everyone, Odie. 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 Old man, Potter dog. Yeah, old middle. As you can see, just chilling in the room. I mean, kind of wish I could tidy up a bit, but it's kind of a last minute thing to actually do it as live and not pre-record it. But decided might as well go live. Oh yeah, just get my protein powder out of the way there. Oh yeah, you can definitely tell that I need to throw some more stuff away, or move some stuff, I should say. I mean, I got video, VHS tapes and stuff I reviewed months ago I haven't put away. Then again, I haven't put the VHSs in the right spots yet. Alrighty, now we're into this stream. I think I should probably go and start answering some of the questions. Alrighty, I'm going to start with the first set of questions that Acres of Movies asked. What kind of movie should De Niro and Tom Cruise have made in the early 2000s together? Good question. Without looking it up, I don't even think those two have ever been in a movie together, even like cameo role. I could be wrong on that. If I am, put it down below. What type of movie should they have made? I'm assuming you mean like what type of genre. Now, I'd have to look at their filmographies real quick. Sorry about that. My TikTok was still up. So, let's see what they were doing in the early 2000s. Tom Cruise. Let's see. I know that's around the time he did probably one of my favorite films he's done, which is The Last Samurai. And that samurai is in plural. Okay, I scrolled all the way down. Let's see, early 2000s, so that's going to be 2000 to 2004 at the latest. So let's see what he was doing. He ended the 90s with Magnolia, then he did Mission Impossible 2, Vanilla Sky, Minority Report. He did that cameo in Austin Powers and Goldmember, The Last Samurai, Collateral, War of the Worlds. So looks like he was mainly doing a lot of action-y films. So, see what De Niro was doing. I know he was doing some comedies back then because that's when he did Meet the Fockers and then Meet the Parents, like around the cutoff point. So, let us see. Alright, he started off the decade with the adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle as the villain's fearless leader. Men of Honor, which I have not seen all the way through, but just from the few scenes I've seen, looks like it'd be an interesting drama to watch and review. Meet the Parents, 15 minutes. The Score, Showtime, City by the Sea, analyze that. Godsend, did a voice work in Shark Tale. Meet the Fockers, The Bridge of San Luis Soiree, Hide and Seek. So, looks like he was doing a bunch of dramas and comedies. So, I think that the best type of film they could have made would have been some type of either a drama and some type of serious drama subject matter, kind of with some humor in it, a la A Few Good Men. Maybe not a military one, but in that vein, to where it is mostly a drama, but there is a little bit of humor in it at points. Right characters that really go with them. I don't know, maybe if you wanted to, you could make it mob adjacent as well. Maybe have the lobby in it. Have it De Niro be the mobster, and obviously Tom Cruise be the attorney, or you could flip it. But that might be a little too obvious. But it's got to be some drama that plays to both actors' strengths, or you can go with some type of action comedy. But with it, obviously, Cruise is going to be the one mainly doing the action stuff, and De Niro is maybe around it. Maybe he's not the lead character. He's like a secondary supporting character, like play a little bit on De Niro's character acting bits. That seems based on what they were doing. Now, we could always come out of left field and swerve everyone, bro. And I think that'd probably be the best on there. The other one was best romantic comedies. Now, I'm going to be honest with this. I have not really watched a lot of romantic comedies. So I'm going to have to Google and have a look at this and see which ones pop up. The Proposal I have not seen. 51st Dates I thought was pretty good. I mean, I like that one, and I like The Wedding Singer, so those ones will definitely be in it, especially A Wedding Singer. Thank you, Freddy Krueger. You can go back to the boiler room now. Stuff like that. How to Lose a Guy, haven't seen that. Yeah, I'm just looking at the ones that When Harry Met Sally. I've technically seen that one all the way through, just not in one setting. That was a good one. Sleepless in Seattle. I haven't seen that one in 20 years, but I remember liking that one. Bridget Jones. I kind of saw that one, but more my grandmother was watching that movie. I have not seen Pretty Woman. There's a Princess Bride. I guess you could say The Princess Bride is a romantic comedy, but it's more like a fantasy romantic comedy if you throw it in there, yeah. Hitch I did not see, despite a lot of the people in my JROTC unit in high school going gaga over it. Moonstruck, that's a romantic comedy. I remember liking that one. That's a good early thespian performance from one Nicolas Cage. I lost my head, I lost my bride. Oh, you gotta love it. Mamma Mia, haven't seen all the way through. Just Go With It, haven't seen. Pretty in Pink. I really haven't seen many of those ones from the 80s. I know, shame on me, shame on me. 40 Year Old Virgin, I haven't seen in a couple years, but I remember enjoying it. Alrighty. The title for this one grabs me from last year, My Old Ass. Yeah, so I say that'd probably be my answer on that if you go off of ones that are strictly romantic comedies. I mean, if you throw a lot of Adam Sandler's ones in there, he has a love interest in a lot of his films. If Buster Keaton came back to life and wanted to act and was 25 again, who would you pair him up for a buddy cop movie? Oh, I'm going to be honest. Buster Keaton's one of those names from the classic era and golden era of Hollywood that I know, but I've never really seen any of it. I know that he's famous for doing a lot of his own stunts when it comes to standing and letting set pieces fall around him, just from the few bits I've seen. If he was 25, who would you pair him up with? Now, this answer would probably depend on, are you pairing him up with someone of the same age, or are you pairing him up with someone older? Because their style of comedy, it could work either way. Given how Hollywood is now, you'd probably pair him with someone older, so you get a little bit of that back and forth and get somebody overreacting to what's going on. Kind of think like the same type of dynamic you get in Lethal Weapon 1 when you get the two people kind of, maybe not quite button heads, but from different backgrounds within the department. Not saying it'd have to be a police comedy, but it's that same type of vibe. Who would I pair him with? That is the tough one. Maybe the simple answer, just for shits and giggles, we could always say Dwayne Johnson. But like I said, that's just a simple answer for shits and giggles. Or if you want to pair him with someone older who would do a lot of physical stuff with him, you could always throw him in there with Jackie Chan. Jackie and Buster just don't want any trouble. Um, oh no, instead of Jackie with the jacket, it's Buster with the jacket. Yeah, it's one of those ones that's very hard to tell, but especially without actually direct knowledge. Alrighty. What are the 5 best Arnold movies? Now, I noticed Acres of the Movies worded that as best and not favorite. Because technically speaking, depending on who you ask that question, the answer could be different. Some people might put it to the same, others might. Best. Obviously, Total Recall is going to be on there, no matter which way you look at it. That is definitely one of his best movies. It's also one of my favorite Arnold movies from childhood, even though I went over a decade without seeing it. I mean, it kind of cheats, but I'm going to put Terminator 1 and Terminator 2 on there, but I'm having them share a slot, especially Terminator 2, because you can't have Terminator 2 without Terminator 1. And they are very different films. Terminator 1 is more a sci-fi horror film that is a slasher film without being a slasher film. I mean, think about it. The T-800 is an indestructible monster. And unlike a traditional slasher film where it wears the mask, the way the Terminator looks is the mask. And of course, Terminator 2, you got it's more of an action sci-fi, and of course, flips the whole thing by Arnold going from being the villain in the first one to now being the hero. Come with me if you want to live. Cyberdyne System Malo 101. Let's see. Now it's going to be the nitty gritty. Got to throw Commando in there. Arnold's real big foray into straight action movies. And of course, shows that he uses a contra cheat at the end. Has a lot of memorable lines in there. Wrong. Don't disturb my friend. He's dead tired. Just bodies. And of course, it still begs the question I still have not got a good answer to. It's like, how many security guards are in that fucking mall? And what is in that mall that it requires that many security guards? Because that's about as many security guards as the place I work at has. And we have a good reason for having that many. If you know, you know. Let's see. Predator. Even though technically I like Predator 2 more. Predator, excellent action film from Arnold. Great one-liners. Great premise. Nice segue. It looks like it's going to be a straight action film at first. And of course, the alien, the Yautja Predator starts massacring people. You know, there's something out there and it ain't no man. Taking out everybody one at a time until it's Arnold versus the Predator. Get to the chopper! Oh, hello there, Aragorn Skywalker, my good friend. Hello. Glad to see someone joined in the chat there. You got me in the middle of my thought there. And it was like, you know, get to the chopper. And then, of course, the ending fight hand to hand. Bad idea. You are one ugly motherfucker. And then, of course, the explosion. So, Predator, you got to throw on there. Oh, do not tell me that. Hey, that just makes me feel dirty. That makes me want to take this shirt, dispose of it with fire, and then go drown my sorrows in the tub like Ace Ventura when he found out that Einhorn is Finkel. Finkel is Einhorn. Chris Chan, as a certain Mexican comedian would say, Chris Chan, fuck that puto. Of course, with Chris Chan, we already know that there's only one way anyone would fuck him. Too soon? Yeah. But anyway, where was I? I think that was number 4 I was on when it comes to Arnold. So number 5. This is going to be where it gets a little harder. Because some of his films from the 80s I haven't seen yet. Some of his ones from the late 90s and the early 2000s I really haven't seen in a while. But if I have to throw one more on there, it's going to be Hercules and I'm just kidding. I couldn't even finish that. Yeah, that one is fun, but for the wrong reasons. I'm tired of all the same faces. Tired of all the same things. Or you can just watch the dub one where it's very obviously not his voice. It's going to have to be Conan the Barbarian. Crom, I have never prayed to you before. Grant me the revenge. And if you do not, then the hell with you. That's the way he says that line. Of course, you got James Earl Jones in there playing a bad guy. The riddle of steel. Steel isn't strong, boy. Flesh is stronger. Him and his cult. And of course, James Earl Jones turning into a snake. What's not to love about James Earl Jones turning into a snake? There's a reason that Metallica years later would say, don't go looking for snakes, you might find them. You gotta love those ones. So I'm just gonna double check, make sure I got 5. Let's see if I did 5. 1, 2 was 1 part. Yeah, that was 5. That was 5. Now, for the most part, you notice that list is definitely best with a little bit of opinion in there. Some probably would say Conan wouldn't deserve to be on there, but hey, my list, I say Conan deserves to go in there. Some people might put Pumping Iron, but even though I have that film on my DVD shelf, which, yes, I am pointing into the bathroom because, yes, my DVD shelf is in there. Don't judge me. I'm not the only one who keeps DVDs in their bathroom. There is no bathroom. I mean, that's another good one to throw in there, but I had to throw something a little bit more fantasy related in there. But if I had to throw one of his comedies in there instead, it would definitely be Kindergarten Cop. Movie of his I quote almost on a daily basis at work. There is no bathroom. All right, and the last part of Acres of Movies question is, what is the best rags to riches comedy? And that is a good one. Yes. I have to actually look up some examples just so I can give an honest opinion on that, because I can't really think of that many off the top of my head. I know I probably should have done notes on this, but fuck it. Oh. So, they have The Great Gatsby on here. I haven't seen any of them, so I can't really on that one. Hold on 1 second. Let's see what I'm going to say. I'm going to cosplay Stolas hopefully this year. Oh, that's nice. Which version of Stolas are you planning on doing? Because he has so many outfits throughout the entire show so far. And, of course, some of them you can do with or without hat. Purple. That's a good one. Classic Stolas. Fun one would be call center Stolas. Yes, IMP. Yes, we can kill your asshole. Wait a minute. Money coming in? I'm poor now. I love the delivery on that scene. I'm poor now. For those who don't know, that's Hello Boss. Alrighty. Mr. Deeds, they have listed on here as a rags to riches. I think I'll throw that one on the list. I like Mr. Deeds. It's been years since I've watched it, though. I remember liking it. I haven't seen the original one of Mr. Deeds Goes to Town, though, which I always found it interesting that they did a remake of Mr. Deeds, which remake of Mr. Deeds Goes to Town, but they have never done a remake of Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. And I think that is a film that could do with a remake, especially with the political climate nowadays. It'd be an interesting little remake, even if you didn't bring in a lot of modern political stuff. The stuff that you just change the time period on, it still could work. Let's see. The Jerk. Have not seen that. DVD shelf. 4-pack. They got Rocky 5 on here, but would Rocky 5 be considered a rags to riches one? I know it seems to me like that'd be the inverse, because it would be riches to rags because he loses his money because of embezzlement. Yeah, we got to get him poor somehow. I would say probably more Rocky 1 and Rocky 2 are more rags to riches. Especially the end of it where, your Adrian, I did it. Yeah, so that's it probably if you count Rocky 1, Rocky 2 as like a 2-part story. Yeah, throw that in there. How to Beat the High Cost of Living. The title on that grabs you. There's a modern one. They got Better Man on here on IMDb. I have not seen that movie, mainly just because it's one of those ones that probably watch it. They got this one on here, but wouldn't this be more a rags to riches tragedy or an example of how you might go from rags to riches, but the way you do it, you're gonna invite tragedy in the end? Scarface. Uh, they got Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory on here. I guess you can kind of count that in the end. I mean, he gets everything he asks for and lives happily ever after. I guess you could throw that on there. Oh, I can't believe I didn't think of that. Technically, Aladdin. I mean, they got the live action one here, but you can throw the animated one on there. I mean, he literally goes from rags to riches in that one. Kind of cheats because he has the help of a mystical genie. A Knight's Tale. Yeah, that one does a little bit. I mean, he ends up a knight at the end, traveling on the road. His best friend gets a girl he's been pursuing the whole film. So I guess you could say that's right. Dumb and Dumber, I don't. Other than like a brief thing, I don't know if I would consider that rags to riches. They come into money, but I don't know if I would say that's rags to riches. You're gonna make me create a character in Soul Calibur 6? Go for it. Don't think I've had. I'm trying to remember. I don't know if I played Soul Calibur 6. I know I've played 4, which one reason I got that in the first place was because of the Star Wars characters in it. But yeah, nice. Let's see. Okay, there it is, the animated one right there. And it's the poster that triggered Robin Williams. Reference would you like? I'm assuming you mean appearance reference, my buddy. The Pursuit of Happiness. Oh yeah, that's another rags to riches. Straight Outta Compton. Oh yeah, that's one. Whichever one you can see it, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter as long as you don't use the one. If you somehow have access to it, as long as you don't use the photo from 2008 where I'm a FF. Let's see, they got Beverly Hillbillies on here, but that's a show, not a movie. But I guess you can say that's one on if you throw shows on there. Citizen Kane. Yeah, a little bit, but he goes from rags to riches, but he kind of loses his soul a bit in the end, don't you think? I'm not going to spoil that the whole thing. Trading Places. I guess you could say that's rags to riches. I haven't seen it, but from what I know about it, I guess you could say. Cinderella Man. Kind of in the same way that Rocky 1 and Rocky 2 are, just, inspired by actual events. Ray. Brewster's Millions. Have not seen, but I guess you could. La Bamba. Yes, but it does have a tragic ending if you know what happened to Richie Valens. They got Rocky 3 there. I don't know what it is, but that one I would put more as a rekindling a passion film rather than Rags to Riches. I got Chaplin on here. The People versus Larry Flynn. If you know, you know. Death to Smoochie. He wears it with a fucking badge of honor. That's all I gotta say about that. Coal miner's daughter. Oh, Tucker, the man in his dream. In a way, yeah. I mean, his lasting legacy and the impact it had on the automobile industry, definitely. I never heard that story until I watched it randomly 20 years ago. Okay, get back. Elvis. This is the one that John Carpenter directed. Now it's going into a bunch of TV movies. Oh, there's that. As you can see, I do have some good examples on there. And that's what I got for your questions there, Acres of Movies. DJ Donnelly, thank you for saying happy birthday. Now, his questions, he's got a couple on there. Thoughts on AI, and is it better or worse than CGI? That is a very good question. Now, that depends on how you're looking at it, because CG, when used the correct way, is a great tool. Like when it comes to special effects. I still say that when it's used in conjunction with practical effects, it is a marriage made in heaven. Because obviously there are some things you just can't do practically and it either look good or be safe. I mean, there are things you can do practically, but then there's other things but then there are times where you do some of the stuff practical and then you add onto it with CG to make it look better. Example of that would probably be the makeup for Vision in the MCU. If you look at what he looks like when he's on set and all that, and then how he looks after they've gone through post, you can see that they've added some stuff on there. And of course, stuff like the Hulk, you got to do him completely CG. It's when they do CG that is unnecessary that it's like, That, of course, it's a big example everyone talks about, but the Thing prequel. I mean, technically it's prequel story-wise, but we all know it was done to make a remake without making a remake. Now, we all know they filmed it with practical effects, but then covered it up in post. When all they needed to do was just accentuate the practical effects that were there in the film when it sold itself. Now, it'd probably be looked at in better regard than it is now, but still be looked at, obviously, as inferior to John Carpenter's classic. Now, there are also times where with background and stuff like that, it helps. Removing wires and stuff for stunts, stuff like that. CG does still have its place. And combine it with that, erase stuff, so it still does have a good place there. AI, the dangerous part there is if you want to try to use it to fully replace stuff. Now, it too, like CG, can be used in the right spots. Like if anyone has seen the recent Obi-Wan Kenobi series, James Earl Jones' voice was recreated in that show using AI. So they had, from what I understand, they had the lines actually spoken by Hayden Christensen, but then they used the AI filter to make him sound like James Earl Jones, but not just any James Earl Jones, original trilogy James Earl Jones, which there is a little bit of difference to the specifics of his voice. Because if you've ever listened to his voice in the original trilogy and listened to, say, how he sounds in Rogue One, you can still tell it's James Earl Jones, but you can tell he's older. He's got a little bit more of a gravelly quality to his voice. Now, I think that kind of fits considering that it's supposed to be a mechanical voice. It definitely kind of distracts a little bit considering this is supposed to be him right before, come on and tear the ship apart until you found those plans. Now, with the AI filter, his voice goes and it sounds just like that. Now, the danger with doing that is when you don't have permission from the estate. And from what I understand, they signed a deal with James Earl Jones in order to do that long after he got gone. Rest his soul. So with that, where you have the actor's permission, that's fine. It's where you don't have an actor's permission or the estate's permission, the permission of anyone else involved, that it kind of becomes dangerous. And then there's the whole thing about using AI to make art that you can throw like on a poster, that you can use AI to write scripts, which I know there's a lot of criticisms of certain films that have been released recently. Like, oh, it was a script written by AI. And stuff like that, that's where the danger comes in. And that's one of the reasons last year when the actors and all the other unions in Hollywood were striking, I was supporting them. Because in a thing like that, hey, stand up for yourselves. That's the point of a strike. You stand up for your livelihood. And if that statement hasn't made it obvious, I am pro-union. Hello there, Junebug Films. How you doing? Let's see. I'm just scrolling to see, make sure that the thing's caught up. Yeah. So, in small doses, AI I think could work. It's just if they start to overuse it, like they've overused CG in the last almost 30 years now, then we're not going to have a good time. Yep, Junebug, that is true. In small doses through future mutants. Sorry, I had to throw that in. I'm good. Thank you, Junebug. It's been a all right birthday. I mean, I technically had to work on it because working Graves, so work most of my shift after midnight, but so far so good. I mean, I got the rest of the middle part of the week off, so now. And of course, while we had that thing with AI, CG, kind of having the same boat a little bit, especially with bringing in the Star Wars comparison with the whole CG Peter Cushing thing. What are some of your favorite video games? Now, I noticed there is not an asterisk on that, so in general. Now, first I'm going to start with some classics. Oh, Ty. All right. All right, Ty. Sorry. All right. Some of the classics. Of course, I got to go with Sonic the Hedgehog on there, even though I played Sonic 2 more because that's the one I had. Got to go with the original Super Mario Brothers. Swing your arms from side to side, even though that's from the show. Of course, Super Nintendo era, Donkey Kong Country, game I always played. Of course, you got TMNT 4, which is Turtles in Time. Excellent game. I got that multiple ways. I actually still got a cartridge somewhere of it. Plus, I got the one collection they did not that long ago. That for me, I can't draw. Yeah, like right on there. That's a good thing for proof of concept things. That's what I was saying, like with poster art and all that. There's nothing wrong using the AI thing to be like, okay, this is the concept art of what I want, just so we can throw it later and then say get the artist to actually do it. It's interesting to see what it can and cannot do, like the meta AI things. Some of the stuff, it's like, oh my god, they really can't do that one. Or you tell it bigger, bigger, bigger. Oh my god, it's Darth Cookie versus Knight Cupcake, random stuff like that. Let's see. In the N64 era, we got Super Mario 64, of course, the original Final Fantasy VII. One of the games that introduced me to the JRPG. Of course, Mortal Kombat 1 and 2. You got to throw those in there. Didn't really play a lot of the other Mortal Kombat games in between that and 9. At least a lot, so I can't really throw them on there. Of course, Grand Theft Auto, Vice City, and San Andreas. All you had to do was follow the train, CJ. How to trigger an entire generation of gamers in just one sentence. I think a lot of us who played that game growing up, we heard that sentence so much it gave us PTSD. But of course, it's kind of calmed down with the other thing. Number 9 large. Number 6 with extra dip. Oh, yeah. That's one way you can definitely tell it's AI art is that they have the weird looking fingers. Where it's like either AI or I've crossed into a weird parallel dimension where everyone's got fat hands. Oh, wait a minute. This is an alternate dimension. We've gone into a cartoon within a cartoon. We are in the Fatheads, which is a show inside of Rocko's Modern Life. Now we got to deal with their disgusting neighbor, Frollo. See if we can recognize that one. All right. Of course, you got to throw Resident Evil and Resident Evil 2 on that list. SmackDown, Here Comes the Pain, definitely on there. No Mercy is also a fun one to throw on there. Diggity, diggity, diggity dog. Break it. Going through the PS3 era off the top of my head right now. I guess you can put GTA 5 on that one, even though that one really has overstayed its welcome a bit. I mean, Red Dead and Red Dead 2 are also fun ones to throw on there. Not quite sure yet if I'd put the Final Fantasy VII Remake and the sequel on there, but it's definitely in the running. Crisis Core definitely is going on there. Well, the original and its remaster, even though I haven't beat the remaster yet. I probably should have done a list of that one, but fuck it, off the top of your head is always funner. 8 fingers on one hand. Oh yeah, that's weird. It's always when they're holding something that it can't quite get the amount of fingers right. No, it's a good. I'll just say it's a good thing Inigo Montoya didn't go into AI world. He would not be killing the right six-fingered man, or he'd be like, wait a minute, everybody has six fingers on their right hand. They have seven fingers on their left hand. What kind of world is this? Alrighty. And his third question on here is top three what the fuck moments in movies that made you angry or surprised. There is a lot of gray area in what the fuck moments. I think one I definitely got to throw in there is a certain moment from, I have not seen the movie or the scene, but it's just, this is such a what the fuck moment, is a certain moment from, I believe, remember the movie correctly, it's a Serbian film, and that would be the moment with the baby. I don't think I really have to elaborate more on there why that's a what the fuck moment. That's one of those moments of like, really? But as for movies I've actually seen, one of these is going to have to go to The Human Centipede. When I watched that at the party I was at, I already knew the movie was going to be weird just from the premise. But this scene is the one I'm like, what the fuck? You can probably already guess what part is going to be. It's going to be the first feeding scene. Feed her. Like, oh, 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 oh. It's like, oh, oh, oh. It's one of those scenes I would not be surprised if that caused you to vomit just from how it was. Other what the fuck. There's so many scenes from the Terrifier franchise you could throw in there, but for me, it's what the fuck in a good way because of how over the top they are. But if I have to throw one on there that is one of those ones that's like, yeah, it's going to probably have to be the bedroom scene from Terrifier 2. Just, it's one of those ones like, oh, it just makes your skin crawl because she really has no more skin. And it's like, ugh. If you throw one from 3, it's going to be the moment involving a certain auntie. You have any interest in directing? Oh, yeah. I mean, it's one of those things that I would want to do. Just right now, I think it's probably like photography is more the thing I really try to do a lot. I mean, I don't have like the best camera. I mainly just use my phone here with some of the lenses if I remember to throw them on there. All right. Oh, hold on. Looks like when I'm done with here, I gotta go down and get a package that they just dropped off at the door. My 15 energy drinks have arrived. But it's one of those things that why I like looking at the behind the scenes stuff of films is like to see like how they talk about their films, how they talk about the focus and all that, and how they figure out how to frame it and all that. I think though, if I ever did something like that, probably editing would probably be something I would probably get more into. But or if I did do directing, it'd probably be after editing. Because even though I haven't sat down and like edited movie tributes or AMVs in a while, the way that most of the time I would do it is that I'd be thinking about it and I'd already be editing it in my head. And a director that comes to mind is Charlie Crichton, which if that name does not come to mind, that is the guy who directed A Fish Called Wanda and actually helped come up with some of the ideas in the script alongside John Cleese. And in fact, the way he tells it, his idea is probably one of the more outlandish ones in there when they were talking about what we want to do with the movie. John Cleese's first idea was a guy with a bad stutter trying to get something out and he couldn't. And Charlie was like, well, that's a good idea, John. What I want to see is I want to see someone get run over with a steamroller. And apparently he started as an editor, which is why as he was making his older films, he'd be like, we can edit with that one, edit with that one. That'd be one of those things. All right. Speaking of Terrifier, I know this is going to be good. So basically, be the Freddy to Jason to Art the Clown. What would it be? That's a good question right there. Because and it's one of those things that you got to really think on. Because with Freddy and Jason, other than the fact that those two came about in the golden age of slasher films, a lot of times coming up with something like that, I mean, some of the times it's the fandom and we kind of will it into existence either officially or unofficially through the fandoms. I mean, there's a reason why Freddy vs. Jason happened in the first place, and a reason eventually in the comics Freddy vs. Jason vs. Ash happened twice. And of course, there's a reason why a lot of the Versus fan films that our good friend Chris does are very popular. It's because the fandom. You gotta love all the fans. I mean, I go to HorrorCon, so I know how a lot of these fans, they always love it. But to get onto the answering of the question, what could I come up with that? If you're going to try to do it on the same level of it, I mean, to where it fits together, I mean, we got to really dissect it a little bit. Freddy and Jason. Part of the reason that dynamic works so well is how each of them is different from one another. Because, well, even in his earliest form, Jason is still bigger than Freddy. Freddy actually talks, so he can talk shit. I mean, more so in the later films, he talks a little bit more active shit, whereas in the first one, he's more of a slow, methodical shit talker. Unless you really piss him off. You know, I'll cut you in two. But in the later ones, that's when he starts to really get his one-lining spewing coming out. And then, of course, the whole fire-water dynamic. And then, of course, the fact that Jason died as a kid, and even though they turned it into subtext in the original films, Freddy was a PETA. Like I said, that's subtext in the original ones, but it's there. Now, with Art the Clown, I mean, other than the fact that technically his final girl that kind of is established is kind of being his opposite, but if you're going with a slasher or a slasher-esque horror character to be his opposite, you really have to try to design it as something that's similar but different. Can't be another clown, because then that's a little bit too much like, oh, it's a clown fight. It's like, I mean, you could always go the jester route and make it more like a noble or whatnot, but that might be a little too on the nose. All right. You could always go with another type of gimmick type one. But you see, this is a good question. This is definitely one of those ones where where it's more a sit and stew over it to come up with a good answer for it. But it's a good one. But yeah, for shits and giggles, you can always have his opposite be a slasher villain that's a little bit more of a realistic character, but is into makeup effects and does his killings in super over the top ways to make it look like he's emulating horror films. You can always go that route. That'd be interesting. Just Art going to his house to try to kill him the first time, and he goes into his room of effects, and he would fanboy more than when he saw Santa. Especially if you recognize props from certain horror movies in there. Like he sees the chainsaw from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. He'd be like, yeah. All right. Something like that. Charlie Bowles, huh? That's a good one. I like that reference to it. That would be a good name for him. He'd have to get himself a hacksaw, though. And he went back into the house. He kissed his wife, his two children, and just randomly Art the Clown goodbye. And then it was Family Man versus Clown. He was through clowning around. I'll see myself out on that one. Let's see. I think I was two. There was two what the fuck moments on that one. Yeah. The third one I didn't get to yet. Third, what the fuck? I mean, technically I could count it as three if I did both Terrifier ones, but well, I guess you could, even though we already knew everything was going to be undone, I guess you could, depending if how much far your knowledge of it, I guess you could say the ending of Avengers Infinity War was what the fuck. I'm only going to throw that on there as like an unofficial one because when I went and saw it, the audience I saw it with when the screen went to black, somebody in the back of the audience went, "What the fuck?" So that literally is a "what the fuck" moment just from the audience. All right. That could work. Handyman. I mean, off the top of my head, I can't really think of a slasher villain that was a handyman, but definitely would give him the ability to stake out the houses, make him a little bit unsuspecting. Even though I'm sure there would be kind of some cops that would suspect him, but hey, as long as he keeps under the radar, I guess he can get away with it easily. I think the AI is being controlled by Syndrome. I think that's why I said Buddy. It is trying to troll us. Damn Syndrome. And it's not Syndrome. It's not our fault that you broke the capes rule. What the fuck moments? I'm trying to think of a good one. That's like an unofficial one. Ooh. I'm trying to think of like a character who died I didn't expect to die. I'd say probably a good what the fuck one, probably the ending of The Departed. Just with how a certain douchebag character dies in that movie. That's all I'm going to say on that. All right. And one of my buddies had no idea you were older than me. Now you do. All right. And some questions from my buddy John, the Zero Cool 966. All righty. Let's see what he's got. He's got 4 questions. What's your Mount Rushmore of action films and why? Since it's Mount Rushmore, that means it's going to be 4. Now, Mount Rushmore of action films. Now, oh yeah, that's the only reason I love Freddy's shit talking, because he's just making fun of you the whole time. He's just saying stuff about the way you're dying. I mean, sometimes he doesn't even have to say it. It's just like him putting on the sunglasses in part 4. That's enough shit talk right there. And, how sweet dark meat, stuff like that. Or sometimes he doesn't even have to say something. Sometimes his body language is like, oh. And I think that's one reason art stuff works, because he says stuff without saying it. That would be interesting. Would definitely be a subversion of the trope and subvert everyone's expectations, especially at the beginning of the film, where we see her flaunting her promiscuity, and we think, oh yeah, she's the first person who's gonna die in this movie. And then by the third act, we're like, oh, she's still alive. Huh. And but you know how we subvert it? We have the virgin girl be the first one who dies. That's a good way to subvert it right there. We're going to think she's going to die. We see her virgin friend go off somewhere, and then runs into the killer, and the killer kills her. Or maybe not the first, maybe like the second to last person who dies, or second person. You got to have it somewhere to pace it right, depending on the story involved. But it would definitely swerve everyone, especially if it's more of a traditional slasher film. All right, Mount Rushmore of action movies. Now, most of the ones I'm going to think of are going to be from the 80s onward, probably in 80s and 90s, because, all right, action movies. Obviously, I got to throw Commando on there, because that is the blueprint for all of Arnold's action movies and helps set the blueprint for a lot of the action movies we'd see in the 80s and into the 90s. One-liners, over-the-top gunplay, guns that don't seem to ever run out of ammunition, and of course, help establish Arnold as an action star and not just a movie star. Whom I would definitely have to throw, even though I think I like the first film a bit more. See when I actually watch all 4 in a row again. Got to throw First Blood Part 2 on there. because did the same thing for Sly's career. Took the action elements that were present in the first Rambo and upped it to 11. And even though it is considered by many just to be a meathead movie, there is some substance there. It is about the POWs that a lot of people think we actually left there to rot. And of course, rescuing them and actually treating them like how we should treat veterans. So it kind of brings to mind the whole thing about us mistreating veterans. So it continues that theme that the first film had. And of course, is all summed up in the line that Rambo says at the end, I want what they want. For their country to love us as much as we love it. I know some people probably put 3 over 2 over there, but even though I like 3, I've kind of always gravitated towards part 2 over part 3, but we'll see if that changes more as I continue to watch it. I'm trying to go off the top of my head when it comes to the action films. I'm trying to go for ones that would just be straight action, not ones that would go over into like adventure or whatnot. Haven't really seen many of Seagal's films, but I don't know how many of them would actually deserve to be on the Mount Rushmore there. And I don't want to cheat and just fill this with just nothing but Stallone and Arnold films, which could be done easily. I haven't seen many of Jackie Chan's earlier ones. I guess you could put Rumble in the Bronx on there, just because that's the one that helped Jackie become a little bit more mainstream over here, and it's more an action comedy, but it does work. I mean, especially seeing him do all of his own stunts there, knowing he had to have a cast on his foot at one point. There's a good amount of humor in there. So that leaves one more. Alrighty. I want to make sure I'm going to say the right film before I go on. I'm not going to say it right. All right. Oh, fuck it. I mean, like I said, I didn't want to fill it, but Terminator 2. Need I say more? It's Terminator 2. All right. What are 2 positives and 2 negatives in regards to the current state of film and film industry today? All righty. 2 positives and 2 negatives. Now, when we're talking about films in the film industry, we're talking specifically just about that, so no TV industry and all that. I would say you could put it as both a negative and a positive, and that is the rise of streaming services. I mean, there's a lot of stuff on there. You can talk about how TV shows and stuff are done, but for just films, the positive, it does allow certain films to reach a broader audience than they would normally. And certain films are actually going to get made because of that. I mean, like Netflix, Amazon, and all that, they are taking chances on certain films. And of course, they are spending the money to get those films made. And of course, in the time when almost 5 years ago when COVID shut everything down, which that alone just makes you feel old a little bit that was 5 years ago. It just feels like it was only yesterday that some films still got made and still had the audience. Now, the negative you got to take with that, which is one of the negatives, is it seems like the theater culture and all that is still slowly recovering. It seems to have mostly recovered, but like in certain regards, box office numbers haven't. Now, certain films do still make money, but some of them could be the result of other things, like like some of the MCU numbers. I wouldn't go as far as say the MCU is dying. I think it's one of those ones like for every couple bad projects, they get a good one that kind of boosts life into it. So it's one of those things where they really need to revamp the creative thing. And just on a personal thing, most of the projects they've done, it's one of those ones like, yeah, I'll watch it later. I'm trying to remember. I think the last project of theirs I actually knew I had to watch when it first came out was Loki, and that's because I like season one, so definitely interested in season two. Of the recent films, not a lot of them until Avengers, the next Avengers come out that I'm really looking forward to. And that one's a little tempered because of the whole them having to change the plot. Oh, that whole chestnut is like kind of goes to the other thing, and of course also them upping the cost of some of these streaming services as a result. All right, all right. Let me do the. Let me finish the other two before I go into the stream questions real quick. All right, another positive, another negative. Positive. I guess you could say with the strike from last year being successful, it shows that all the different unions still do have a good amount of power within Hollywood. They can still, if they don't like what's going on, they can organize, strike, and get what they want. Even though, I guess you got to throw a negative in there with it. Even though it does help the industry as a whole, in the moment, it could hurt projects. I mean, we saw that in the strike in the mid 2000s, and a little bit of that kind of trickled into some of the projects being made now. That you can definitely tell that some of the projects being made right now, the strike did affect it. And of course, some of them they shut down rather than have it affected, like Deadpool and Wolverine. All right, let's see. What about the latest James Bond news about Lex? I haven't heard anything about the latest James Bond. Oh, that's what you mean about Jeff Bezos. Fuck Jeff Bezos. That's all I gotta say about that. And what way is he taking control? Like, did he buy a controlling stake in the company that owns the rights to James Bond? Is he taking control of the current film? Did he get some type of distribution rights? Either way is bad, but each one is a different level of bad. Like if he owns the series as a whole, God help us. If he's just got the distribution rights, it's one of those things like ride the storm and then we can just pull it off like a band-aid. Oh yeah, we definitely do. And of course, having people like Roger Corman's good for the industry overall because it lets the next greats, no matter which field they're in, directing, acting, behind the scenes stuff, makeup effects, and helps them get their start so that by the time you're cycling out the next people or the next people are starting to slow down their careers, you have the next people to slot in. That's basically a thing with any type of business, but certain businesses are very, very hesitant to do that until it's almost too late. Like professional wrestling. He gave the what's that old phrase? Money talks, right there. $1 billion. I mean, $1 billion up front. I mean, that's enough to make anybody want to give creative control of it. So now we just have to wait and see what he does with it. Because at this point, since they ended the previous series with that version of Bond dying, you kind of have to either do another reboot or you got to do the popular route and go the legacy sequel route, which that way I didn't bring that up in the previous question because that one could be a pro or a con depending on the execution. So that's like in the halfway one. Yeah, so being like the producer would be good. Even though a lot of actors and other people make fun of producers. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen the Biff song. What does a producer do? I don't know. Stop asking me the question. That's just his timing and delivery on that is good. Was that real manure? It's a movie. They use, although I wouldn't put it past them to use real manure for one take just to fuck with the actor. Manure! I hate manure! Zemeckis, I'm gonna kick your ass, butthead! Have you ever done live commentary or commentaries before on your channel? Well, John, I think the closest I've done to doing live is the couple ones we did for Ninja Turtles a few years ago on your channel. And of course, that one we did for Chopping Mall. But on my channel, I haven't done a live one. I've done pre-recorded ones, but I haven't done a live one. It would be fun, man. Yeah. Maybe next time I do a live stream, maybe I'll do a live commentary. Maybe get a couple people to join. Who's your all-time favorite actor? Got to settle down to one person. That is a hard question. Nope, no. Ah. Hold on, Drummond. He's a guy to. So was this the guy who was like a real life MI6 agent, or is this a guy who had like a public persona that really inspired Bond? If I remember right, I know Fleming was involved in like. A very crappy day. Huh. Oh no, that's a lag one though. Oh yeah, that would be a very crappy day. Yep. I mean, in the story, it was a crappy day in general, but actually using real one would be a crappy day. Every one of those ones, okay, gotta hose them down, boys. Hey, where's the car? Kill it with fire. I do wonder what they made the menorah out of because it looks very realistic. Probably like clay and putty and some other stuff. Probably also maybe some dog kibble in there for the. I think it's a shot in part 2. There's some in his mouth when he's saying manure. I hate manure. I think in part 3 there's also some in his mouth. That's a different type of manure. That's more fresh manure. I think Buford's going to jail. Yeah, he's going to jail because he wasted that manure. I know, my favorite actor. That is a very hard question to nail down to one. Because not every actor is going to work well in every type of genre. What the hell? Glendora's Calling. That's that place. So basically the literature that inspired him. Oh yeah, that'd be interesting. I mean, the tagline would. I mean, you have to be careful how you did a tagline to avoid copyright, but you could kind of mention stuff that this is the character that inspired Ian Fleming. That's really all you'd have to say. It gets around the Bond one because technically they can't copyright Ian Fleming's name because it's the name of a real life historical person. I mean, in that regard, they can anyway. I mean, I know WWE has copyrighted some real people's names, but they had to sign away that thing. They can't just copyright them just for the sake of copywriting. Ooh. Some of the books aren't? Yeah. That would suck. Of course, if that's the case, given I'm waiting. It looks like he's got more to say. You okay over there, Odie? All right, I'm waiting for the rest of the thing. I'm gonna reach over and get me done that hour. The swig of water for the working man. Salut. Oh yeah. And I'm assuming that they'd be period pieces set in like the 20s and 30s. Very creatively, you could pull that off with a decent but not too large budget. creative director, you can get around having to have the big expensive set pieces that would be set in a period. So could be done. Like, well, 2 locations. Like for first one, make it a little bit smaller scale, and if they have the budget in sequels, you can justify it a bit more, and hopefully still get return on investment. All right, favorite actor. As I was saying, not every actor is going to be good for every single genre. I mean, some can work it in comedies and action, but the moment they try to do something dramatic, they fail. Or, of course, type of character and type of film they're put in, it does not work. Exhibit A. My God, the man! He's grown young! And my impression was not obvious enough. Keanu Reeves in Dracula. Even though he looks the part, the one actor in that film that is miscast. I love Keanu Reeves, but not in that film. Even though it gives for some meme one. That's why I constantly bring up that one, just from his delivery. He's grown young. But anyway, it's kind of hard to narrow it down to one, I would think. So I'm just going to give a list of a couple of ones, and it's going to be across different genres. Of course, for the Golden Age, I mean, I got to go, since I'm a horror monster guy, I got to go with Boris Karloff. He could play a good guy, he could play a bad guy. Good at playing all of them. And with that little bit of a lisp to his voice, it just added the right je ne sais quoi, as you could put it in there. And of course, his eternal rival, Bela Lugosi, even though Lugosi got typecast, he just had that suave, debonair quality to his voice. I mean, there's a reason he's considered the definitive Dracula. It's because of that. All right. Ooh. I mean, gotta throw Marlon Brando on there, even though Brando was his own worst enemy when it comes to him being a diva. But you gotta admit, he did give some great performances. You're the delivery boy sent by grocery store clerks to collect the bill. Of course, Jimmy Stewart. I mean, the reason he's a household name just because of his voice. Of course, had the perfect send off in Five Will Goes West with that monologue of his at the end. Huh. That would be interesting. Definitely would save on the money when it comes to having to make everything period related. You just skip the period thing. Now, depending on what stuff is in the story, you might have to switch some of it. Like if there's any of the references in here that are definitely of the 20s and 30s, you got to update it. Like whether it's like country names, locations, obviously reference to then current events. But depending on what they are, you could easily update them. Like, just say, for example, let's say if it's a part of one that's set in the late 30s, so beginning of the Second World War, you can just update it to something to do with something in the Middle East, some other type of made-up war, conflict like that. I mean, the 80s action films did that a lot. I mean, there's a reason that Val Verde was a very popular location in a lot of 80s action films. Let's go to Val Verde. Let's see. I haven't seen a lot of her films, but Audrey Hepburn comes to mind. It's just having not seen a lot of her films, I can't really list her on there. Angela Lansbury, she was a lovely lady. Very great at playing characters, I guess you could say. The Green Suitcase Cut of Superman. Off the top of my head, I'm not that familiar with that. Is that the other alternate cut besides the one that's on the multi-disc DVD, or is this like a unofficial extended cut that fans made, all with all the elements of the Donner films? Of course, gotta throw Jack Nicholson in there. Like, good guy, play a bad guy. No, a lot of times later on, people will like to go, "Well, Jack's just playing himself." Nah, he got typecast. That's a phrase I really just hate, is that they're playing themselves. I don't like using that phrase a lot. and because I feel even when you're playing a fictional version of yourself, a la Nicolas Cage in a certain film he did recently, obviously he's not really playing himself. He's playing a fictionalized version of himself. A little bit of truth, a little bit of fantasy. So I think it's more the typecast thing of it. Maybe it's more comfortable in there when it's a character within a certain range, but I don't go with the whole playing themselves thing. They could probably throw a little bit of themselves into that, but depending on the range of the actor, they got to do that a little bit. John Cleese had to do that a little bit with A Fish Called Wanda, and it helped. No. Ah. Oh, yeah. That would work. The only thing we'd have to be careful there is hope that China doesn't throw another hissy fit like they did with the Red Dawn remake and then force us to change it to Korea. I got into a little bit of an argument with my Taiwanese buddy about that when it comes to it because I still stand by that it would make more sense if it was China than North Korea because I still cannot see how in the blue hell North Korea could pull something like that off. Especially as more years go by. I just cannot see them doing that to us without something else happening. Maybe like, say, in the modern day, with all the crap going on now, something were to big pop off from all of that, and then there's like some decentralization. Then I could see North Korea doing it. But just in general, China just made more sense. Go ahead, make my day. I know you gotta be go ahead, make my millennium. Yeah, come on. Come on, do it. And China swings in the mist. It's like, oh crap! You hit Great Britain. What'd they ever do to? Oh yeah. And despite what some of the critics said about him, Sly is a good actor, so he'd definitely be in the running there. I mean, I like Arnold, but I don't know if I'd throw him in there when we're talking about great. Maybe it's like some of his emoting in there and all that, and just some of his delivery of his one-liners. But we're talking about, and of course, how he is in comedies. I mean, in comedies, he definitely worked good. There is no bathroom. I mean, some people probably throw Clint Eastwood, but I think I like Clint better as a director than as an actor. I'd say he's a bad actor, but I just think that as a whole, he's better as a director. Oh, yeah, it would be. But thankfully, they left Scotland because they hit the England part of Great Britain. So you know what that means? Freedom! Then the Northern Ireland's like, we're unified? Sorry, I had to throw that in there. Oh, fuck. Damn Outlook message popping up. That would be interesting. Just the dynamics there. Depending on like what type of comedy you're going for in the film, I could see someone working in a eating pork joke in there somewhere. Whether it be them just bringing it up in conversation or somebody accidentally slipping the Muslim co-op sandwich with bacon and he doesn't realize until he's taken a couple bites of it. How you don't realize you're eating bacon because of how distinctive a flavor bacon has, I don't know. So it's probably more something like they go to a burger joint and they don't realize that it's a blend of pork and beef. They're Bork burgers. Or all that. That'd be an interesting dynamic. I mean, it's kind of like the dynamic between Will Smith and the Orc in that movie he did, but without the fantasy elements. Hopefully they wouldn't focus on the racism if cops do police brutality to the point where I'm like, okay, I get it, move on. That's one of my issues with the scene in that movie. But that would be interesting. All that. That's also just depending if you do it contemporary times or set like 20 years ago or something. Yeah, like, hey, you want one? You just have him look at him like, seriously? Or just have him look at him and then just point to something like maybe he's wearing like a symbol of the Muslim religion in there, like have him look at him. Be kind of like that moment in the Green Lantern animated series where they're all stranded on the planet and they can't really communicate with one another because they don't have powered rings. And they get the thing that can power the Green Lantern rings. He tosses it to Razar, and Razar like holds up his ring like wrong color douchebag, something like that. Definitely would work. I gotta put Willem Dafoe on that list too. I mean, he can be over the top. He can be subtle. The script girl. He ate her later. Oh yeah, modern times. Definitely. The main reason I bring that up is because, like, what would be the drama of it? Because you got to have at least a little bit of drama in a comedy film, especially a buddy cop one, because that drives the plot forward, and then the comedy is what carries the rest of the film. Because even if it's just like a minor thing, like them having to solve a case, like a big important case. Well, I don't really know if you need to update that speech that much because you just change out some of the lines, but and I don't really know much about the 500 Magnum and all that, so I don't really know how much you'd update it other than maybe just switching out, the type of it, maybe what the thing could do, like if that one can blow your head clean off, like blow the top of you clean off, but the rest of the threat still holds water pretty well. Of course, there's always the dark way to go and have the gun not be unloaded. I mean, that's really dark. That's Undertaker dark. Uh, all right. Okay, thanks. Who would you have had direct Swordfish? All right, hold on. I gotta look that up. So I'm glad I got my phone here. Go to IMDb. Let's see, Swordfish. Dominic Senna. That looks familiar. I'm looking at his filmography. Oh, Season of the Witch. I think that might be the only one of his films I've actually seen. Hold on, let me see. Last film he did, almost over 10 years ago. Yeah, that's the only one of his films I've seen. Yeah, that's a good question. Off the top of my head, I do not know. I mean, especially since I haven't seen the film, so I don't know like what the style of it is. So I don't know if I can assign someone that would be a good replacement on that. If I ever do get around to watching the film, I will answer on that. Yes, it is live. As live as live can get, complete with errors. Errors everywhere. All right, thank you for being a longtime fan. I always appreciate it, and that's part of the reason I do throw in the modification of a certain Stephen King ism instead of a constant reader constant viewer. All right, we'll review Frasier episodes. I mean, I might get around to reviewing some episodes of Frasier. I mean, it's one of those things I don't know if I'll actually commit to reviewing a full sitcom again because, to be honest, even though I did love and enjoyed reviewing Everybody Loves Raymond, there were times, and this is mainly like almost 2 years ago now, throughout the year of 2023, after my grandmother passed away, that it felt more like a chore than a passion. I mean, that's why I did take a break from it for a couple of weeks at first because I had to deal with all that and the drama of moving the first time and all that. And then even then, it was the only thing I was recording from week to week. Till near the end, I kind of got the passion for it back. Then, of course, some of the episodes along the way I was dreading. Not the one episode that was an outright rant. That one I already knew was going to be interesting to cover. And it was just watching it because I usually skip it. There were just episodes I was dreading because, like, it's usually on the skip list. It's on the skip list. But it was fun. But I don't know if I'd commit to a full one again. And if I do, maybe take it the season at a time, take a break, take a season, take a break. Unless I like do the thing where I get most of it recorded or all of it recorded and then start uploading, then maybe start the next one. Because I know that's what Lore Runner does with his things, but he does it a year of episodes out, or at least he did with his Star Trek ones. And I did kind of try it on a smaller scale with my Has Been Hotel reviews, with the exception of the one that's going to be going live this week. And I mean, a little spoiler for that. I only noticed when I was uploading them that I did not save this penultimate season episode. So I got to redo it. That'll be later today, tomorrow's thing that I got to record. So that will be interesting. All right. Okay, back on the comment. Online scam. That definitely would be a good villain thing. Definitely a fit. Pizza with De Niro or pasta with Pacino? The question there is: are we talking modern Pacino and De Niro or older one? Because both of those might be different stories. But if we're going at it from modern, I think I'd probably rather talk with De Niro while eating pizza, because I'd like to pick his head about the making of a couple classic films he did. And more specifically, just if there's any that came to mind. Oh, what the hell? Okay, sorry if that kind of lagged on you guys, but the bag I was moving kind of hit the thing. But as I was saying, I would like to pick his head on some movies, but one of them, of course, would be the adaptation he was in of this one. But either of it would be funny. But also more going out to eat pizza guy than I am to go out to eat pasta guy. Make a Jaws in 1700s. That would be interesting. An old timey shark one. I mean, I know there's one of the oldest accounts of a shark attack in the historical things. It actually involves a guy jumping off a boat to save his father, and he attacks the shark with a freaking sword. That'd be an epic scene in there. Of course, that was more medieval times for when it actually happened, but in the 1700s, someone jumped off the boat with like a 1700s officer saber, try to hack at the shark. Shark's looking at him like, who's this fucking asshole? I made the shark Italian for no reason. Yeah, Jaws. And there's a series of films I do enjoy. That one definitely is studio wanting more money why they turned that into a series. And definitely one where the movie is better than the book. Book isn't bad, but you read the book, especially if you're already familiar with the movie, and you're like, oh yeah, I see why they made these changes. Even though it is interesting that the mafia is involved in the book. Yeah, you're not going to close the beaches there, Mayor. Where's that dough? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That is true. Especially once we get past the Behind the Laughter episode. Because after that, as Super Comic Guru once said, all downhill from here. Even though I do remember a few episodes from after that. Like the Treehouse of Horror where they made fun of Harry Potter. Slithers. I think that was the last one that I actually saw, like first run that I can remember. What rom-coms take place in Europe? Oh yeah. Now, of course, the asterisk of that is that we'd have to get my hands on every episode of Beavis and Butthead and not just what's in the Mike Judge collection. Because as of right now, I can review the episodes I have on hand because I do have volume 3 of it, plus the Do America movie. Oh yeah, I think at least for me with that, it was mainly near the end because that's where, like I mentioned in the last season, they're starting to flanderize some of the characters. But even early on, some of it you start to be like, especially with Marie. That's where some of the premises start to get. Ugh. That's why when I found out they were originally planning to stop after season 7, I'm like, I can see it. Oh yeah, I mean I've seen some of Frasier from watching it with one of my fellow supervisors. That does look like it'd be fun. And plus the lead, you gotta love it. Notting Hill, Forget Paris. I have not seen any of those films. I know of Notting Hill, but I've not seen any of those ones too. Alright. Oh yeah, with the music videos. That's one thing I actually, when they were doing the first relaunch back in the early 2010s, I was wondering, like, are they just going to do music videos or are they going to do other ones? And they actually are reviewing modern MTV shows. I love when they did the one Jersey Shore one. They're like, this episode sucks. They're not fighting in this one. Oh, yeah. And the music video is reviewing will be fun. Yeah, you think they killed someone to make this music video? They should have killed the people who made it, Beavis. Oh, yeah. So, good choice. I'm assuming we're going off of modern money with that. That sounds like it'd be a thing where it sounds like it's a situation where it's like, when I want 10 minutes of mayonnaise, I get 10 minutes of mayonnaise. But yeah, situation like that, they probably should have just waited until Spielberg was ready because that's the one major thing you can tell is missing, especially from the first Jaws sequel. Is Spielberg's not at the helm. If they had waited and done his one or done the original idea and made it a prequel about Quint in the Indianapolis, although with that one, there's only so much you can go with that unless you're doing it like open water where they're all in the water and the sharks are attacking. That would probably work better as a short, but waited, let him do him stuff, come back after Close Encounters, maybe. Then again, that might have been a situation where it might not have gotten made as a sequel because it might have been like some of the other film ideas he had where something came up and postponed. Now, one instance, it was he was going to do Peter Pan. That got postponed because he actually became a father. And then later he realized he had more to say about it. And he came back and did Hook. So could have been something like that, but it could have been something where it's like, yeah, I don't want to play in the water anymore. French Kiss. De Palma. That now I actually got to look up all of his films now because I don't believe I've seen that many of them. I know someone's going to say you're a cinephile, but there's a lot of films I still haven't seen. Some of them it's just having them within reach. Let's see. Black Dahlia, that one's on the watch list. Mission to Mars. I didn't know he directed that one. Mission Impossible, Carlito's Way. Those ones are on the watch list. Hey, I didn't know he did Bonfire of the Vanities. Untouchables. Well, that one I like of his. I want him dead. I want his family dead. I want his house burnt to the ground. I want to go to his grave. I want to piss on his ashes. Of course, Scarface. Haven't seen it all the way through in one setting, but Carrie, that's a good one. Did a film called Icarus. Interesting. Yeah, so you see there's still a few on the list, but they'd probably easily be on the list. Let's see, where am I on the thing? I heard about one guy who was arrested. I'm just trying to figure out the logic of that, if that's true and not an anecdote. That would have to be a very butthurt, sensitive cop in order to do that. Yeah, especially Back to the Future. But the little scuttlebutt there is that as long as Zemeckis is alive, they're not going to be able to reboot it, and he doesn't want to actually do a sequel, from what I understand. I mean, there's a reason that song's like "Back to the Future 4" not happening. Other side content, yeah. I mean, the video game was a success. I'd like to see him do another video game. And of course, once a certain Simpsons contract ends, I would love for them to bring back the Back to the Future ride. The one and only time I've been to Universal Studios so far, that was amazing being on that ride. I mean, they probably update the ride and all that, but I would rather them just bring it back wholesale with the old stuff. But that's just me. I wasn't aware that Peacock was on live support. And again, I mainly use it to watch my WWE backlog stuff. I mean, how do you think I've been watching the Streakathon and occasionally an episode of SVU? I'm not surprised though, but then again, this is what happens when every single company thinks they need a streaming service. The reason Netflix worked is because they were the first one and they do change some stuff. Not every company needs one. I mean, and then with some of them taking some of the stuff off this original content or not having certain things on there, that's what's killing some of them. All right, where's or maybe just have 6 ones because with a lot of nominations, I don't really think it should be a set number. I mean, sometimes I think if you nominate more, it might be good, but I think I do understand why they do have a set one. I thought Fatal Attraction was good in its one. I mean, definitely its original ending is more an artsy ending than what was released. But that's one of those ones like, do we want to go with the art ending or do we want to go with the ending? And they decided to go with the ending. And of course, Untouchables got that great ending. But of course, we all know in real legal proceeding, the defense attorney would not be able to do what his defense attorney did in that film. But for a film, it works. And then, of course, with the whole shootout in there, that works. And of course, De Niro. As Al Capone, you got perfect casting on that. And of course, Sean Connery in his Oscar-winning one. You never bring a knife to a gunfight. You send one of theirs to the hospital. You send one of ours to the hospital. You send one of theirs to the morgue. You pull a knife, you pull a gun. That's the Chicago way. All right. Maybe. Not well. That depends on where you are. Where I'm at in Cali, it is. It's a little different than that. Basically, to sum it up, it'd be best way to sum it up out in Cali is battery is if you actually hit somebody. Assault would be you just throwing the punch. Doesn't become bad. That's why I'm going there. Maybe I know crimes and all that have different definitions in different places, but that's where I'm thinking of it. Like, how would that do it? Now, if he farted and there was a lighter there, and the fire almost hit the guy, then I can understand the cop wanting to go with assault. But just farting, no. And of course, if you try to do public indecency, you'd be like, "Really, officer? You're really reaching there?" Okay. Huh. Jules and Verne making a time machine. That sounds like it's crazy enough to work. And then, oh yeah, that'd be interesting. And then, of course, they'd probably mess something up, and then they go back to their modern days, and then Biff's kids are in charge of something. Oh yeah, I mean that's why they for some of the streaming shows they do try to get them nominated for Emmys, which I do agree with that. I mean they are essentially TV shows without actually being on TV, even though I think a couple of them kind of they do the cross programming things on there, depending on where you're at in the world, and I think some of them will do the cross showing of them or something weird like that. So yeah, for that thing they definitely need to. Andy Garcia. Riverside County. I don't know how familiar you are with that county, so it was one of those things. The place I grew up with, most people, unless they actually know about that town, to be like, what? Because I grew up in a town called Wildemar. Most of the time when you say that, to be like, what? It's named after the three people who helped found the town: William, Donald, Margaret. Wildemar, or I like to joke, Wild Omar. Now, of course, I live in Moreno Valley. Good old Moval. One of the cities that everybody in the local area makes fun of because it has a bad reputation. Now, just based on the part of it I live in, I don't see it, but from what I hear in other parts, yeah. Just like Paris, like Elsinore, Hemet, near where I work, by the way. So, uh, all right, costs are good for that. Brendan, maybe. It'd probably depend on how well he can pull off that type of humor. Hey, John's in the house. Hey, John. Oh, thank you for wishing me in. Oh, yeah, we definitely do. We got to do another collaboration. A la those streaming ones and the Waterworld one we did. Like, I still got an idea for a edited little cover for that one. Yeah, it's kind of hard to top the DeLorean just for style points. 55, 4. I think that kind of comes close for style points. You go in the opposite one, you got retro style points on there. And of course, you also get some good humor in there. They were like, just like our dad said, what's the point of making a time machine unless you're going to do it in style? I mean, the only other way you can go back on that is if you make it really stylish and you make it out of a Ford Model T. Which, of course, Model Ts, those are interesting to drive in. I've actually been driven in one because my friend's great-grandfather was one of the few people left alive who still worked on them. And, of course, he passed away. The Model T went overseas to Europe and is now touring there. Yeah, let's see. Oh, yeah. Definitely it is. I meant like it, something like that. Like how we did our deep dive on it before. No pun intended, because of it. But like a different one. That would be fun to do an actual commentary on it, maybe like the extended one, so you'd be like, oh, look at that. There's a scene that's not in the original. Live in a digital block shape version. Or is that Live? I think it's Live. Well, if we live in a version of Waterworld, it's like Mad Max, only you're going to be drowning. Best movie that takes place in a spaceship mostly? Oh. Now, there's a lot of gray area in mostly, because if you're saying like a good portion of the film takes place on a spaceship, we could go with 2001: A Space Odyssey. That's a good one. Now, I'm going to be honest. Sometimes I put that one on just to help me sleep, not because of the fact that it's a boring movie, but because of the fact that a lot of the audio I found sometimes, especially if I'm feeling underwear, whether it works like ASMR for me, helps me get into the right relaxation mode. But other than that, if I have to give an honest answer, it's probably gonna be Alien. I mean, I could cheat and probably go with a Star Trek or a Star Wars movie, but that would be a little too simple, so I'm going with Alien. Mostly. All right. Oh yeah. Now we can do the regular one. Then be interesting to put. Okay, that's where that went in. That's where that went in. Then of course that movie has Dennis Hopper. Dennis Hopper, one of the best villain actors out there. It does look like shit, and it feels like cold shit. We got freaking killed. Probably a follow-up line. We got to keep you two off the internet. And of course, when Doc finds out, I told Clara we have to keep You two off the internet, you two always get up to no good on the internet. It wasn't Marty that was showing you this stuff, was he? Best body swap or personality or social standing swap movie. Body swap. Whether that, the main ones I've seen have been some of the Freaky Friday ones, but it's been so long since I've seen them that I can't really comment on them other than the general premise. And I know I've seen at least the original and the first made-for-TV remake at least once. Social standing swap. Because I'm trying to think of anything that falls within that premise that I've seen recently to where I can remember this stuff. Personality swap could come about a variety of ways. You have something to say, Odie? You got something to say? I think you got something to say. Or you just want attention because you see me genuinely talking to myself. I probably have to go Freaky Friday on that one just because I cannot think of anything else. Oh, House Guest and Trading Place. Like I said, not seen Trading Places. Know of it. House Guest. That one I'm drawing a blank on it, but maybe I see the poster, I'll probably recognize it. Okay, that's one I gotta watch just from the fact that it has Sinbad and Phil Hartman in it. Because you can never go wrong with Phil Hartman and Sinbad. It's usually fun to see. He's a postman, for God's sakes. All right. Oh yeah, that would be interesting to see. Of course, given how long it's been since they made the first one and the second one, they definitely have to recast again. But it's one of those things I wouldn't mind. I know they were trying to make a film of one of the other ones, but I don't know if it was that one or the follow-up. If it was a follow-up, I think that's the one where we find out that the aliens that are inside the monoliths are evil. Evil! Or we could just say they did a last-minute heel turn. For 20 million years, brother, we held our head high. We did what we wanted for the Neanderthal. We did it for the Cro-Magnon, for all the putulant slime. All right. Well, that was a hard one to answer. I think I'm still saying Jackie Chan on that one just to see them work off each other for the physical stuff. But if we're going for somebody that's less physical and all that, you could always just pair him with Chris Tucker, try to see if we get a similar dynamic. Buster, my man, the house is falling on us, Buster. Oh yeah, that would be interesting. Like the time travel, it just starts messing with your genes, starts shaking your genes. And to add another thing on it, you could also put it to the fact that he's someone that all the different changes they've done to the space-time continuum, it's really messing with them, especially the changes from the first film into the second one, which I know a lot of people with that always say the whole thing with a chicken is a plot hole with that, but I've always looked at it as that slowly as the film goes, he's getting like subtle personality changes as the previous timeline him slowly starts changing into the second one. Now, whether or not all of his memories are going to vanish or not, that's up to interpretation. But I feel like the chicken thing is something that his new timeline self deals with and not his original timeline self. Are in a diner together. Is it awkward? Well, I guess that depends on the circumstances of it. Is it an ambush thing with them being in there, or are they doing a project together and they're having dinner, to work out the specifics of it? Probably would be a little awkward, but I mean, a lot of time has passed. I'm sure they water under the bridge. But then again, look how much time has passed since Dave Mustaine was kicked out of Metallica, and look how many times people constantly bring up that thing in fucking interviews. Oh, that would be interesting, yeah. Isn't that the one where there's like multiple DeLoreans other than the ones we're seeing at a time? If so, yeah, I've heard a little bit about that one. See? Oh, it's one of those ones. Those theories, those ones are always interesting. Is that because of the terrorists at the beginning of the movie? And the fact that a gun that in real life it's known for not jamming jams in the movie. That's how you know it's a movie. A gun that's not going to jam jams. Let's see. Sea of Love. Hey, from the year I was born, 89. A detective investigating a series of murders becomes involved with a woman who may be the culprit. I have not heard of this one, but this one does have my interest peaked just from the premise. Oh, you got Michael Rooker in it. You got John Goodman. Of course, Pacino. William Hickey. This one I got what? Let's see. Where is it? It is on Netflix right now. So it going up on the list is likely. Let's see. Betty Davis. Let's see what type of film she did. Because then that will probably be able to answer that question a little bit better. All right, we go from a movie that was released in my birth year to an actress who died in my birth year. In fact, I might be responsible for Betty Davis's death. I don't know how I can live with myself. Let's see. I'm thinking of more along the lines of when she was in her heyday. Of course, Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, All About Eve, now Voyager. Just from the films I'm seeing, I'd say probably. Still, oh yeah, Return from Witch Mountain. Seeing a lot of stuff where she definitely was a character actress, so it could be either. I guess it depends on what type of stuff what type of films you want to stick her in with those two. Are you going to stick her in there with comedies? Are you going to stick her in there with more the actiony or the more esoteric stuff? Because if it's a comedy, it'd be either. Because they both did ridiculous comedies, and both of them could work out for pretty well in that one. But if you have to pick one of the two based on their filmographies, of the two, I'd probably have to go with Sly, and that's more from the fact that of the two, he was more the actor. Like I said, I'm not piling on Arnie when I say that, but is that what it is? Okay. A game theory? Sorry, I had to throw it in there. I count for my crib whereabouts. I plead the 5th, the 8th, the 9th. All right. Oh yeah. Yeah, but that definitely could work good alongside both of them then. Oh yeah. Mom! Where'd you get a gun, Ma? The funny thing is, that's the only part of that film I know. Because I haven't seen it. Like, where'd you get a gun? Where'd you get a gun, Ma? Picture Sicily. Yeah. Joan Crawford was better. I think on that comment we got shots fired for fans of old Hollywood. Shots fired. Of course, she passed away in '77. Of course, they were both in Baby Jane, so there's a good thing to bring up there. No, looks like he's not sleeping. Eat at Good Burger or drink at the Subblock Bar and Cocktail. I would have to say both of those choices are probably bad, but it's one of those things. Do you want to get a cocktail or do you want to eat a burger that has literally been genetically modified? That is the real dangerous GMO food right there, that Good Burger. Or at least the one from their competitor. Of course, if you go to actual Good Burger, you got to worry about your person you're ordering from screwing it up. Just like in real life. I'm sorry, that's a cheap joke, but I'd probably rather eat a Good Burger. Like, I'm assuming that's because of her repertoire and range. Oh, looks like we're gonna get a old school Hollywood fight in the comments here. It was like the only way to find out is get Bette Davis versus Joan Crawford on Celebrity Deathmatch. That would have been. I don't know. Did they ever do an episode of Celebrity Deathmatch where it was classic Hollywood people? If not, that was a missed opportunity. Could have done Crawford versus Davis. Could have done Lugosi versus Karloff. Trying to think of a director one. I'm not going to go that dark because I had one. That one will definitely point to one person over the other. Tom Selleck. I'm going to be honest. Most of Selleck's work I've actually seen firsthand has been his more recent one, including Blue Bloods. I know when I was younger, I believe I saw 3 Men and a Baby. So I have seen a couple of his Jesse Stone films in parts, mainly because one of the channels my grandmother always used to watch. And after she retired, she had nothing else to do but watch TV. It's just like my other grandmother. She was retired most of my life, so when I would go over, that's really all she did was watch her different shows on TV. How I became acquainted with network soap operas like Days of Our Lives, including the Satan arc. Let's see, Jesse Stone. Going, but he did a lot of these fucking things. I forgot he voiced Cornelius in Meet the Robinsons. All right, Jesse Stone. Not Crossfire Trail. I forgot he was in Christopher Columbus, The Discovery as King Ferdinand. 3 Men and a Little Lady, Quickly Down Under. I did not know he played Magnum in an episode of Murder, She Wrote. That is an interesting fact. Episode of Muppet Babies. Simon is... Yeah, it looks like most of the movies he did in his heyday, I gotta go back and watch, at least the popular one. Oh, he was in an episode of Charlie's Angels. So I'm guessing it's like his early career here. I still think it would have been interesting to see the alternate reality version of Indiana Jones where he played him. Where, like, instead of making the stash sexy again as Magnum, he makes it sexy again as Indy. Stare down with Hitler, it's mustache versus mustache. All right, great. Clark. Let's see where is it. Favorite. Okay, I'm trying to see where it was. Both great old stars. Clark Gable versus John Wayne. Now, that's a good one because they were both box office darlings for different reasons. Clark definitely more his sex appeal when it comes to the ladies, and John because of his machismo and one-liners with westerns, kind of the same way Sly and Arnie were with action films from the 80s. And of course, unlike those two, he actually got an Oscar, although you can debate whether it actually was deserved or not, or if it was just a career one. I mean, that's why Wayne, even in his acceptance speech, did the joke. That's all it took. I would have put that eye patch on 30 years ago. Of course, if we're going as a person, if we're going as a person and not the career, it's definitely Gable. But as a career, that's hard personally because I really haven't seen any of Gable's films personally. Yes, I haven't even seen Gone with the Wind. I'm listening for the sound of the villagers coming to storm my house and attack me like I'm the monster. And with John Wayne, I've really only seen a couple of his, like Red River. So it's one of those things like it's mainly from the historical thing I'm looking at and not like from firsthand experience. But yeah. Oh yeah, I kind of get that vibe from him. Yeah. And of course, given when and how he passed away, you can kind of make the joke that it was being in proximity to another Hollywood sex symbol that kind of made him like, whoa. Ooh. That's not something I thought I'd hear someone describe as Harrison Ford, but each their own on that one. I definitely think he would have. He definitely could have pulled it off. It definitely would have necessitated the sequels being a bit different, though. And obviously, the final film of the original would be a bit different, too, because Selleck and Ford have different acting styles. They would have delivered the lines differently. I mean, the grand plot beats would be different. And of course, the classic lines he would have said differently, like the Snakes line. And of course, the dynamic with Sean Connery would be interesting because they both would have facial hair at that point. And of course, it makes you wonder, like, how if they still had River Phoenix play young Indy, how he would copy those mannerisms instead of Ford's. And of course, we won't get the whip scene in that either. I'm assuming we're talking about the last two. I have not seen the last Indy one, and I don't really think you phoned it in with Crystal, if that's what you're going. And but that's just an opinion on acting. We all gotta be a little different on that one. Oh yeah, definitely in the earlier ones because looking at it, most of his stuff was way after. Uh, Good question. I mean, you can't go wrong still keeping River, but you'd also have to look at who would have been the right age range and coming up and coming. I mean, if you want to go to Sam one, you could always throw Will Wheaton in there just for a little bit of a lull, but people would just been looking at the screen going, "Shut up, Wesley." Yeah. So, there's that. Shorter career. Clark Gable. I'm going back through my comments on here, make sure I didn't miss anything. No, yeah, Riverside County. Oh, yeah. A lot of desert and mountains here. All right. I've only seen like clips of it. It does look interesting. It's one of those things I do really want to watch one day down the road just to see how it is as one. Like most of the clips I've seen are like ones that came across randomly on YouTube. course, one of them is involving Ford. It's that episode he was in where when I think it was around the time he was filming the Fugitive, so he still's got that burly beard. It's like, it's Andy in his lumberjack face. Hopefully that doesn't mean he wears suspendies and a bra. Alright. Joey, good. That's a good one. All right. I'm assuming we're talking about the more recent one. And it does kind of look like it's inspired by stuff. I mean, then the latest indie game, it's on my to buy list. It's just like, as I'm getting older and really crunching with bills and all that, there's like tier level of how soon I usually get games. One like that's like at level 2 or 3. Like a level 1 would be like when the when the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth came out last year. That was an immediate one. God of War Ragnarok was an immediate one. All right. Oh yeah, I could kind of understand though why he didn't really want to play ball, and that's mainly with George's whole thing about wanting to keep his studio stuff independent, and especially this being in the wake of his. I mean, it was a decade later, so not really in the wake, but of course, following the divorce, him wanting to keep better financial matters, and then, of course, the failure that was Howard the Duck. Quack. Would have been nice though, but it seems like they'd always had different financial money matters. I mean, they could find the money when they were making the Star Wars prequels, but look how long they tried to make that Star Wars live action series and nothing happened. If there's anything that I kind of regret that Lucas never got to do, it was that, because before he sold to Disney, that was one Star Wars project I was constantly waiting on, just from what I heard on it, like the different premises, like in between episode 3 and 4, different little snapshots into the Star Wars universe. You could have done so many premises of it, like episode focusing on bounty hunting, episode focusing on a random Jedi running, maybe doing a good deed, and then episode ends with Vader killing his ass. And then you could have done some adaptations or twists to some of the EU works on it. I mean, you still could technically do an adaptation like that. I mean, they've kind of done some of that stuff with like the Tales of series, but this is a live action one. Kind of the reason I don't really mind, like in Mandalorian and some of the others live action shows, the moments that feel like it's just the in between moments, because it's stuff like that I wanted out of the live action series. All right, where was I in the comments? Oh, that's good. I did not know they were on there. So he was going to do a Jetson movie? I did not know that. Was that one he was wanting to make around the same time they were doing the Flintstone one? If so, that's probably a good idea they ended up doing it. Although him doing a Jetson would have been interesting just for the special effects alone. Oh yeah, that's the thing. Oh crap. Uh-huh. Wonder how many people said something like that to Katzenberg back in the day. All right. Back in the day, and even in 2014, Sandra Bullock definitely would have been an interesting casting choice for Jane Jetson. Definitely had the look for it. I mean, even now she could still probably pull it off. Oh yeah, that was the bigger problem, is that it was mainly a production company and then not a distribution company. And it seems like he kind of just became more complacent with producing stuff. I mean, think about it. Other than Star Wars and American Graffiti, he never really directed any films. I mean, he might have directed segments and all that, but he never went off and did any other directing things. which is a shame. I would love to have seen him direct more stuff. Which, of course, I mean, he's not dead. I mean, I'm saying that like he's dead, but think about it. He hasn't really directed anything since episode 3. Even though I wouldn't mind him coming back and directing like some Star Wars episode stuff on there, especially if it's in conjunction with the people who are running it now mainly, which is, his protege and then guy that started the MCU. Sorry, names them. I'm starting to feel the sleep deprivation thing, so the names are not coming straight to mind with it. So sorry. You guys know who I'm talking about. But yeah, like, have to come up with an interesting name for it though to be Star Warsy for a distribution company. Yeah, with a Flintstones reboot, it's like, I'm just trying to imagine who they would cast for modern days to play the characters. Same thing with Jetsons. Oh yeah, would have. Either that or let his buddy Spielberg handle all the distribution stuff. All right, well, I am signing this thing up. Oh yeah, that's the student. That was the student film that he expanded, if I remember right. Yeah, and that's the one he did before American Graffiti, the film that famously gave us the term Wookiee, if I remember right. All right, Radioland Murder is a. Radioland Murders. Let me look at that. To the IMDb. Okay, here it is. Yeah, he's one of the writers on there. Yep. Oh yeah, big box office flop with that will usually hurt you. Oh yeah, taking big swings. Everything about it with the Star Wars prequels, he kind of did, but not super big because Star Wars is a big name still. Then not being an indie show was cheap of him. They have to put more money in it. Would have been 1138 distribution. Oh yeah, Chris Pratt. That's not for Fred Flintstone, is it? Oh God, help us. Chris Pratt is being everywhere. He is taking over every franchise by assimilation. Soon he's gonna have to be killed. He's gonna have to be terminated by his father-in-law. What are you doing? You have been targeted for termination. All right. Sam Rockwell. That'd be interesting. Of course, we all know who it should really be. I'm the trash man. Oh yeah. You gotta really nail Betty's accent in her laugh. Fred Sr., yeah. Well, Ma, I'm still home. Maybe do a little reference to the red meat joke. It's like, Fred, Dad, you know you can't eat red meat anymore. You know the doc said it's bad for you. Now, what does that doc know? And do some random little caveman geology joke. Alrighty, or oh, and thank you for that. Even though sometimes I feel like I could have analyzed stuff better with stuff. Then again, sometimes we're our own worst critics and stuff effacement. Yeah, answer the last part of that question. Yeah, being young, man. Yes, Odie. Can I help you, Odie? That's it. I'm still looking at Radioland Murders. Let's see. There's. Interesting. I didn't click on the name. Let's see how much this movie would cost to make. Well, it's set in the 30s, so period piece, so that's going to add to it. $15 million, but made not even 1.3. Oh, yeah. Even for a budget that small. Ooh, mama. That is the flop equivalent of, no, stop, he's already dead. He's already dead. Oh, no, they're about to Jeff Jarrett him, the guitar to the head. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I think so far the closest we've gotten to that is the ending part of Holly Rockabye Baby. Because that whole thing was about Pebbles giving birth to their child. My baby's having a baby. And then, of course, a little flash forward at the end. And if I remember right, isn't that really the last little thing in the continuity that they did? Better joke about making cereal. Is that what the kids are calling it now? Oh, yeah. All right, you are. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I still think part of it is just how he was looking at finances after everything, but it still would have been interesting to see him do a little bit more with it. Be one of those things that probably won't ever come to light until after he passes away. But I think it'd be interesting to see like what the financial numbers of Lucasfilm was all throughout. Oh. Let me get some water. What the numbers were all throughout its existence, from all through the Star Wars era into him just producing films in the 90s and all that. I think it would be very interesting. Of course, I already know, even if those come to light, if the numbers start to go down in the years before he sold Star Wars and all that, I already know some people are going to pipe up with that. Say he was destitute, that's why he sold it. No. Domestic Disturbance. I'm assuming that's the name of a movie. Let me see. All right. Hack squats. Not fun. Travolta. When Danny witnesses his stepfather Rick murder a man, Danny's father Frank has to protect his son from the greatest danger. This sounds interesting. So we got Travolta having to protect his son. Sounds like an interesting film. Oh yeah, that'd be the perfect way to continue it. Like get another series and stuff out of it. With that, I'm assuming you mean the prequels, or at least one of them, and all that. A lot like how he did with Empire and Jedi. Well, from what I understand, he did try. Even one of the things when I was researching the prequels a couple years ago that popped up is he tried to get people not only to either direct it or co-direct it, but he also wanted to try to get co-writers. And every person he approached was like, "No, that's your thing, George." Which I just find it's like, really, you're going to turn down? It's like, especially with Phantom Menace, you were going to turn down the opportunity to co-write one of the most anticipated films in years with the George Lucas. He approaches you and you say no. I forget all who he apparently approached on it, but I would have said hell yeah. I mean, it's just like the thing. I know people said yes to being in it, like Sam Jackson said yes to being in it before he even knew what he was going to be. I mean, the whole story he tells, and he finds out the day of he's going to be a Jedi. I'm talking to Yoda. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Definitely start the distribution company and all that. Definitely would have been nice if he actually gotten someone to say yes to co-direct him, but we all know compared to the originals, he also had a bunch of yes men around him with that. I mean, some of the people that were around him also turned out for the best. I mean, that's how we get Pablo Hidalgo amongst other people that eventually went on to help write Clone Wars and all that. But, some of the producers and all that were yes men around them, and you can really tell that. No one wanted to challenge him on some of his less than good ideas compared to the original trilogy. Pair Bill Murray and Steve Martin in 2001. What would they have made? Bum fights? I don't know. I'm just saying that because I don't know Bill Murray's personal history all off the top of my head, but wasn't that when he was in one of his down periods personally? Because I'm trying to think, what did he make around that time? Wasn't it? Let me check. I know Steve Martin was still doing some stuff then, because that was around a couple years removed, but that's right before he did the Cheaper by the Dozen show. Sneeze. Oh yeah, Osmosis Jones. How could I forgot about that? Royal Tenenbaums. Lost in Translations. That's the one I was thinking of. That I was trying to think of the name of. Probably something similar to that, maybe. Maybe another weird one. Maybe an interesting little buddy comedy between the two of them. Compare and contrast their different types of humor. Maybe. Who's best for Loomis? Which Loomis are we talking about? Yeah. Maybe he could have done a little of both. I mean, definitely probably would have been more interesting overall to see him do more indie passion projects. Maybe every now and then take like a big one to help pay the bills. Or get a little bit more cash flow for more creative ones. Like maybe just do Star Wars ones as bigger ones and the rest of them as small ones. That would have been interesting. Just like even though we would have been robbed of the great film it was, it would have been interesting to see his version of Apocalypse Now, which would have been on 16mm film. That's just weird. I mean, I would be all for a slasher film series similar to that, but that's just weird. I mean, with just Ving Rhames as an Eli Voorhees, that's just scary enough. That's the type of thing you run into. You're like, Mommy, I don't want to be in Jersey anymore. Oh, that would be interesting. But I'm assuming in that one you'd have Clint be Stallone's dad. Like, yo, Pop, what's going on? Yeah, she's about to put the Twinkie in the hole. Yo, Dad, no, that's just disgusting. That's what I thought you meant. I just want clarification on that. Of those ones, no. Of those ones, I don't know if any of those ones would really work as Loomis. I mean, Buscemi maybe if he was like more a parody one, just with his delivery, but I just cannot picture any of those ones playing Loomis. I mean, just as the character is written. Maybe a total reboot one, and some of them could do a good job. It's hard for me to picture any of them playing Loomis. Then again, when they were doing the reboot, it was kind of hard for me to picture anyone playing Loomis in general, but they could surprise me. What is this Yellow Jackets you speak of? He's about to blow his magnum. Yeah, we only 5 shots. I still got one more. I was trying to think of a good Arnold joke to throw in there. I don't know if should, but that would have been an interesting choice. Just from the fact that Gene is one of those actors that really mastered and perfected the art of acting and reacting naturally. I mean, even though I've only seen bits and pieces of his work with Richard Pryor, from what I've seen, that's what made those two work wonderfully. You know, you got them being natural foils for each other. Is that it wasn't one comedy actor trying to top another one. It was one being funny and the other one reacting naturally, and as a pair, they were naturally funny together. So him as Doc would have been interesting because he would have just been saying the dialogue and then reacting. And then if Michael J. Fox and the others ad-lib something, he would have been acting and reacting naturally. And then, of course, the whole gigawatts thing, that would have been interesting, and how he does his over-the-top voice, like 120 gigawatts. And, of course, when he gets mad, he could channel a little bit of, "You stupid, ignorant son of a bitch, dumb bastard." Jesus Christ, I met some dumb tannins in my time, but you outdo them all. Get over there. Yeah, maybe. Okay, yeah. Okay, Yellow Jackets is a TV show. I wouldn't know because I've never watched this show. I'm gonna be honest, most of the shows on Netflix I haven't really watched. And a lot of the ones I have is either in passing or I'm so backlogged on it. Like I still haven't watched the last 2 seasons of Stranger Things. That's a good question. It's one of those things like could a City Slickers 3 even work? I mean, could if they had the right script and all that, but if they do and the family's all right with it, yeah, they just got to be respectful with it, and they'd have to figure out a way to integrate it into the plot. Maybe just have it be like a cameo thing. It'd probably work better for like something like a commercial. Oh, he wrote it in '96. I mean, they verify it's his. Like I said, that's up to him and all that. And if he decided like, hey, use me after I'm dead, go for it. I'm assuming that's because of the stoner comedy aspect. You don't want Davidson and Crystal looking for Curly's green stash. sorry, I had to throw that in there. You never go wrong with Sam Elliott. He always adds a level of class and sophistication and badassery to it. Man that made the mustache cool, even when people were saying the mustache wasn't cool. The only time he did not need a mustache to be a badass was when he was playing a real life Sergeant Major, and that's because he still had the right amount of curmudgeonly old man about him. If any one of you guys calls me Grandpa, I'll kill you. Sir, Custer was a pussy. You ain't. Oh, yeah. I definitely can say that right. Most true statement ever said about Custer. Other than what Tom Cruise said about him in The Last Samurai. Are the Indians over the hill? Yeah, let's go charge. A few moments later. No. I have not seen Roadhouse all the way through, so I did not know he did not have it in that one. But you know who else was in Roadhouse? I have to go home. My horse is sick. Pair Pete Davidson with Charlie Chaplin if Chaplin came back. That is the weirdest odd pairing I've heard so far in this thing, I think. Both from the combo and the fact they're going through Japan. But I'd say it's better it's Davidson than one of the Paul brothers. But it would be interesting to just to see what type of crap is Chaplin going to be running through. Here we go to Ruber. Honestly, I haven't actually gone out to the movies that much, and that's mainly just for time and all that. But the last couple times, it's mainly been the Galaxy. I have been to the drive-in out here a couple times. I mean, I did go, but the last time I went was when they did the double showing of Goonies and Gremlins. Yeah, those are two classic films. Only one of them was from my childhood, that I watched as a kid, and that was Goonies. Gremlins 1 I didn't see till later. Gremlins 2 was a film I watched a lot as my childhood. You think the Gremlins can stand up to the Hulkster? Or if you saw it on VHS, hey, this is your go back onto your own movie. Well, if it was the Middle East, I think they would have more to worry about than PC, to be honest. India, you just have to watch where you stepped. Galaxy, it's over in the Mission Grove, I think it is. I think it's called the Mission Grove here. It's on Alessandro.